We are in the Louvre and we are looking at the painting by Raphael called La Bella Jardiniere, and it's lovely Raphael Madonna in child with an infant Saint John the Baptist. In the pyramid composition that we are so often associated with the High Renaissance, what's interesting is that the Virgin Mary is not in the religious environment. We see no archway and she's got no throne. She's set on a rock in a field with a beautiful atmospheric perspective behind her, creating this lovely verdant environment. As we look down at the foreground, we've seen friends, perhaps the adage of the fawn, and lit flowers. The loveliest faces to me are the way that Christ is on the left stand on his mother, foot really showing that kind of dependence on his mother, and yet also a growing sense of independence as he looks sick to take the book out her hands and look up at her, and of course the content of the book foretelling his own demise. It foretells the crucifixion, and the look on Mary's face is one that suggests that she knows that she's looking at him too. In a sense, gauges whether or not her ready for that knowledge. She put her right arms around him, protecting him, and seems to hesitate for a moment with her left hand whether to allow him to take the book or not. Saint John the Baptist, who kneeled in a prayer toward Christ, is in very graceful pose as he kneels down on his right knee, tilts his neck up, and looks up to Christ. As we have that high Renaissance gracefulness and ideal beauty. Let's look for just a moment at the gazes within the painting, to start with John the Baptist and his eye gazing up at Christ, who in turns body and faces move up to Mary, and Mary then returned the gazes, and his sense sent our gaze back down to Christ. So everyone's gazing really focused on the Christ, and sort of we're in the middle of the triangle. And we're watching them look at each other, and Mary is ideally beautiful, and we have only the faintest outline of the halo. The halo is disappearing as we enter the High Renaissance, because the figure exudes a kind of the divinity, ideal beauty. We don't need the symbol of the halo anymore, and it's nature that take on the role. No longer are those stage proof of divinity necessary, as you say, but it's the landscape itself, is God's word that He has created, that is an expression of divinity, and its beauty itself, that is an expression of divinity. Here, Mary's beauty, Christ's beauty.